You can never ultimate strike twice in a game. That's impossible.
Is it? Is it really impossible? Let's find out. We all know that Dust is arguably one of the strongest Zero Dragons in the game. He alone can close games that would otherwise seem lost. Heck, they even tried to nerf the card. Well, what if I told you could maybe not Ultimate Strike Dust once, but you could Ultimate Strike him twice in one game? Let's find out if it's possible. First things first, I want to give you guys some background information to make sense of the situation that led to me discovering this secret. A couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine, JD from Crushing the Meta, if you don't know who that is, it's this guy. Told me about an interesting deck where you could Ultimate Strike Dust twice. This deck made use of the ruling when Gise is removed from the G-Zone, all binded Zero Dragons will return face up to the G-Zone, because of the ruling that G-Units can be moved to zones other than the normal circles. This statement was sadly later announced wrong in the Gise Q&A. Link to the Q&A down in the description. Although this debunked this method, I was intrigued by the idea of two Ultimate Strikes in one game, so I went and did some research. A lot of research. And today, I will share my findings with you guys. So, to Ultimate Strike twice, we need to fulfill one major condition. We need to have 4 G-Zone cards left in our G-Zone after our Ultimate Strike turn. We need 4 because to Ultimate Strike we need to have 3 face-up cards in the G-Zone and 1 face-down Zero Dragon to use for our Ultimate Strike. There's only one card in the game that can move G-Zone cards to another zone while keeping them in the game. And that is Neon Gise. So, we need to run Gise as a starter and at least 5 Zero Dragons in our G-Zone. 4 different ones and 1 duplicate of the Nation Dragon we will Ultimate Strike. Now that we combined 4 of our Zero Dragons, we need a way to fulfill these next conditions. 1. We need to remove Gise somehow from our G-Zone. When he is removed, his continuous skill will cease to exist, making it possible to access the binded Zero Dragons. 2. We need to get our binded Zero Dragons back into our G-Zone. We need to have all 4 in order to fulfill the condition to Ultimate Strike, including our Ultimate Strike card. And 3. We need to be able to flip one G-Zone card, namely our Nation Dragon, face down. When these cards return to the G-Zone, they will automatically be face up, so we need to find a way to turn them face down. Alright, right off the bat, condition 1 is easy. We can either G-Assist and choose Gise as one of the G-Zone cards to be removed from play, or we can Ultimate Strike and after that turn he will be removed automatically. Of course, we choose the Ultimate Strike option, because we need to perform this action anyways, and it gives us more control of when we remove him from the game, because we still need to bind 4 Zero Dragons. Second one is a bit trickier. We need a clan that can interact with the bind zone. They need to be able to move cards from the bind zone to basically anywhere on the playing field. So, for candidates, we have Narukami, Nubatama, Gear Chronicle, Spike Brothers, The Leaders, and Aquaforce. Yes, Aquaforce. Let's first start off with the strangest one on the list, Aquaforce. Aquaforce isn't the clan that's known for their bind zone manipulation, but they have one incredible strong card against Narukami, and that is Battle Siren Chloris. Basically, what an Aquaforce player can do is Ultimate Strike and then use her skill to guard with them next turn, and instead that they would be sent to the drop zone, they would be sent to the G zone instead. Next off, we have the Leaders. The Leaders has a mechanic called Vanish Delete. I know, shocking. Deleting Vanguard isn't the only thing they can do, but the problem with this mechanic is that they bind opponents' cards face down, and don't do anything besides that. Nothing really special though. But with this conclusion we can also put across for Narukami, because they basically do the same thing, but unlike the Leaders, most of her cards get benefits from binding these cards. Also, Nubatama can do anything with their own bind zone, because they bind their opponent's cards. And yes, we got these 2 cards that can get their cards from the bind zone to either hand or soul, but the problem is they only target face down cards, and the Zero Dragons are binded face up. We only have Gear Chronicle and Spike Brothers left. Spike Brothers didn't do much with the bind zone in the past, but with their support in the G era, they got these guys to call cards from the bind zone. Only one problem. All these cards call themselves to the rearguard circle, and not another unit. If they had this card as a rearguard, they could fetch the Zero Dragons to the rearguard circles. But sadly, we must cross Spike Brothers off as well. Now we've come to the final clan, and oddly only Aquaforce is able to get the Zero Dragons back to the G-Zone. But Gear Chronicle will step up and show they're the true masters of time, because they don't have one way to get them back to the G-Zone, not 2 ways, but 4 ways. If you run a Gear Colossus orientated deck, you could use Valtero Idea Drone. Instead of the Zero of Dragons moving towards your hand, they will move to the G zone. You could also use Elitainos Idea Drone to move a Zero Dragon to the G zone instead of the drop zone. You could use this card in any build as long as you run some Gear Colossus, because it needs to boost one, but it has no Vanguard requirement. If you play Chrono Fang, you could use Chrono Tiger to call him to the rearguard circle, and at the end of the turn they will move to the G zones. The downside to these cards is that they only fetch one Zero Dragon each, so you need 4 copies of these cards in order to get the 4 cards back into your G zone. But we have one more option. We can use Steam Soldier Undalulu. We can get 2 Zero Dragons back into our G zone with 1 card. The only issue is with this card is you need to have GB1. But don't worry, we have an answer for that problem in the form of Air Elemental Twitteren. In the off chance that our opponent didn't rewrite or stride last turn, we can use him to activate our Generation Break 1 skills, and thus making it possible to use Undalulu's skill. So, only 2 clans can manage condition 2. But which clan can fulfill the last condition? We finally put 4 Zero Dragons face up back in our G zone. We only need to flip one of them face down. But is this even possible? Well, yes. And only 1 card in the game is possible of doing this. Well, technically 2, but the other is a stride card, so that one's out the window. But yes, it can be done. And which card is the MVP of using your ultimate stride twice? Which card can literally break the game of Vanguard? It is Wakey Wakey Worker. It's because of this old card that I knew that this should have been possible. Oddly enough, step 1 and 3 were clear from the start. I knew the existence of Wakey, and because of the original way the combo should have panned out, I knew you used the ultimate stride to remove Gizeh. The hard part was finding a legit way to get the Zero Dragons back into your G zone. Let's see these steps in action. Step 1. First you open with Gizeh and right on top of him to move him to the G zone. Step 2. You need to trigger 4 times to bind 4 Zero Dragons. Oh look, how convenient. 3. We need to ultimate stride Dust to remove Gizeh from the G zone. Step 4. Use either one of these cards to send 4 Zero Dragons to the G zone. In case of Undalulu, use Twitteren's skill to rest him and then move him to the G zone to activate Generation Break 1. This can only happen if your opponent didn't rewrite or stride last turn, so be careful. Step 5. You place 1 Wakey Wakey Worker on the field to boost the unit. Use his skill to flip Dust face down. Step 6. Survive 1 more turn. Step 7. Be prepared to bully your opponent with the second Dust. For those who want to know exactly why G units work the way they do as I described in this video, I will put up the rulings referring to the G units on the screen. But basically what they mean is that the G unit cannot exist on the field except the G zone, Vanguard circle, rearguard circle and the Guardian circle. If these cards are to move to any other circle, they will be instead moved to the G zone face up. We sadly only got a clarification for moving to the Soul and being locked. But they also stated in an older Q&A that when they are targeted by the now Griffin, this will also occur. To double check this statement, I asked the question if I could use Undalulu the way I described earlier, and their answer was yes. So, Bushiroad, if you're watching, please update your comprehensive rules so that it will state that when a G unit is moved to a zone other than the Vanguard circle, rearguard circle or Guardian circle, it is instead moved to the G zone face up, unless a card enables them to stay in another zone like Neon Gizeh's skill. Is ultimate striding Dust twice OP? Oh yes. Is it competitive and meta defining strong? Hell no! I mean, you should end your game at the first Dust turn. If not, and you're fighting against a current meta deck, you would die then and there. Because most games won't go beyond the first or second stride nowadays. And Dust is at best your second stride. And to go into the second Dust, you need 2 extra turns. 1 to prepare everything, and a second to go into the second Dust. But is it fun? You bet your ass it is, and if you manage to pull off this combo, it would feel amazing. Pulling off this combo is pretty difficult, but definitely rewarding. If only Aquaforce could flip a G-Zone card face down. If only. This video was more to show you guys the crazy things you could come up with if you have a better understanding of the core mechanics and rules of the game. Even though Vanguard is a physical card game and the events are strictly written down, there can still happen a lot of interesting and random things like a certain digital card game. Anything can happen if you dig deep enough into the core concept of the game. A card like Gizeh is hard to make waterproof of all the different interactions that make up a card game. That's why we've seen a lot of weird interactions with this card, like this video for example. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like these more analytic kind of videos about the Vanguard rules and interactions, then write it down in the comments and I'll try to do more of these. Of course, I want to thank my patrons over at Patreon. You guys make these videos possible. If you also want to support us, then go to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and support us today. Sadly, we didn't have the time to do a fight video last weekend, but next weekend we have a special fight video with an update with GPT-14. I'm Mr. Tinyleap, and I see you guys in the next one.